If you're struggling with statistics or coding for your academic papers, check this out. This is PlotStudio AI, which is a new tool that can analyze data in a couple of minutes and generate extensive results and even a discussion that you can use immediately in your publication. Here is how it works. You're just going to create a new workspace and call this workspace, for example, trait analysis. I'm going to provide my plant data set, which just consists of a few traits that I measured on plants, for example, the thickness of the leaves, the size of the leaves, and some chemical compositions. At this point, it's not doing any analysis. It's just trying to understand what type of data it is. The result after a minute looks something like this. So it's already understanding what is measured in the data set and gives you all these column names, as well as suggests a few questions that you work on. The first thing you need to do is now ask your research questions. For example, I'm interested in knowing which traits are correlated and how species are distributed in trait space. You can be as specific as you want. And this is a little bit different than your average ChatGPT, because what PlotStudio will do is generate a plan for what different steps need to be taken in order to answer your research question. And I'm going to show you in a second what the results look like. But first, let's look at a schematic. So the way PlotStudio works is that you give your data and your research question and create this plan that I've just shown you. Then it will go through a loop, which will transform the data, extract different things. For example, my data has a lot of missing values and they need to be either imputed or removed. Then it's going to generate some plots. It's going to run some reasoning and checks, and it's going to do that in a loop. All of that is done in parallel by multiple AI agents. And then after the reasoning is done, it gives you a final results document. So now let's look at what happened with my plant data. PlotStudio will generate a lot of in-between results, so you can kind of look over its head and understand what it's doing. And these results typically have different figures or different tables that are clickable. So if you click on figure 2, it will open this figure at the bottom and tell you exactly what is missing in the data. Since these are different traits that are measured on plants, I can immediately see that the traits delta 59 and 13C are the ones that are missing the most. They're also incredibly costly and difficult to come by. I spent months just grinding plant samples to obtain what I have. Then it will generate some integrated answers, generate more plots, generate kind of just general reasoning so you understand what the agent was doing. I'll just show you a few more plots here. This is a PCA plot that shows you exactly how these different plant species relate to one another based on their traits. Then it analyzed and understood, okay, these are the outlier plants that we should maybe not use in our evaluations. And then at the very end, you get some sort of overview and an integrated answer to your question, even with some implications. So in the implications, it gives you two things. Like for one, of course, what is actually the result of the entire process, but also a caveat. For instance, the isotopic traits that I've just shown you that are missing are indeed flagged here as having high missingness. So it has a little bit of critical thinking skills, I would say, or at least it gives you an idea what you as a scientist should look out for when you work with that data further. If you want to learn more about PlotStudio, go to plotstudio.ai or check out the description, which has a link to an in-depth review on my blog where you can see all these other different features and a few more use cases and understand whether or not that's for you. There's also an exclusive joining offer where you get free credits for running these AI agents. So if you're interested, please check out the description. Thank you for watching.